Hey guys, welcome back. My name is Scott, and today we're taking a look at the awesome new Siegebreaker Behemoth from Conquest: The Last Argument of Kings. This monster comes as the newest addition to the Spires army, and it's really cool. Let's go ahead and dive into this review. Let's start this review off by taking a look at the sprues. Now there are 3 sprues in this kit. There aren't a ton of pieces to the model, but the pieces that are there are rather large. There's a lot of really cool detail on these pieces. The texturing of the carapace on this model is going to be a lot of fun to work with. This is definitely a model you'll be able to speed paint using dry brushing and washes and things like that. Now on the backs of the arm pieces, there are letters to help you identify which arm pieces go together, because they all look kind of similar. Unfortunately, there's not a ton of customization to this model. It looks like you really just build it one way. The only thing that does look like you might be able to play around with a little bit is the head, which has a ball and socket joint. Now it's okay because you'll probably only ever own 2 of these, and so they don't really need to look terribly different from each other. The assembly instructions for this kit are pretty easy to follow. You really just stick to the steps that they list out and you'll get this model together in no time. I spent an hour and a half building this model, but I was also watching TV while I did it. If you did it without distractions, you could probably build it faster. Now, one thing I will say when you build this model, don't glue it to the base plate until after you finish painting it, because there are going to be some spots that are going to be really difficult to get to if you glue it to its base plate. You might be wondering just how large is this monster. He's pretty good sized. Here he is next to a Promethean from the City-States army and an Abomination from the Spires. As you can see, he's not really any taller than other monsters in the game. Where he gets most of his size is in his width. He's a very thick, bulky model with a very wide arm span. Now, I am happy that the size of this model isn't so much that it's going to make it hard to pile stands into engagement range. That's something that some of the other monsters, specifically in the Wadroon army, tend to have, so I'm happy to see that this one's not going to have that problem. Now if we take a quick look at the rules for this model, it's going to be a lot of fun to play with. This is a heavy monster regiment. It has a movement of 6 inches, a volley of 0, clash 3, 8 attacks, 14 wounds, a resolve of 5, a defense of 4, and an evade of 0. I get excited about the special rules on this model. It's going to be making 5 impact attacks when it charges, and those are going to be hitting with brutal impact 3. It also has terrifying 2, meaning that those impact attacks are going to do a lot of morale damage to your target. And that's going to be followed up by a clash action where you'll make 8 attacks, which inspired will hit on 4s. That means you're getting a lot of offensive output from this guy, and on top of all that, he has smite, which means that enemies during a clash action don't get any defense against his hits. So as long as you're not hitting a target with a high evade characteristic, he's going to be getting a lot of damage through, and that terrifying 2 means that morale damage is just going to be crippling. Now at first glance, you might think that this model is a little undercosted at 180 points, but you have to take into account that since he is a restricted unit that's only available to the Lineage Highborn, you're going to have to take a unit of Avatara for every one of these that you put in your army. At best, you could take 4 of these if you took 2 Lineage Highborns, each with 2 units of Avatara and 2 Siegebreaker Behemoths. And you can do that for about 1600 points, which leaves you a few points to throw something else in your army. Do I think that build would be super great? Not really. I think that you would be hurting yourself because everything in your army is either medium or heavy. You don't have any lights to get you early table control, but the stuff that you have coming in later in the game is going to hit really hard. You'll want to make sure that you time your charges to capitalize on that brutal impact, and you're also going to want to make sure that you pay attention to the stats of the targets that you're throwing this model at, because you don't want to throw it into something with a really high evade. Doing so would essentially waste your smite ability, which is where most of the value of this model comes from. Now realistically, I would probably only ever put 2 of these in a list. 3 could be fun, but 2 is where I think you're still leaving yourself enough points to put other things that the Spires need in their army. I definitely think every Spires player should include at least one of these in their list to try it out. You might find that it's quite a bit of fun, and it adds a lot to the army. It's opening up a viable elite build for the Spires that I think is going to be a lot of fun. Overall, I'm really excited to get to include one of these Siegebreaker Behemoths in my collection. I think it's a model that every Spires player should own at least one of, and ideally you probably want to own two. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to paint. I've already started working on it, and the nice thing is with the texturing on this model, it's going to paint really fast. You're going to be able to do most of the work with dry brushing and washes, which is super exciting. I definitely think you should check one of these out. Thank you guys so much for watching this video today. I really hope that you've enjoyed it. If you have, go ahead and like it, and then subscribe to my channel so you can see future videos I make. I'd like to give a special shout out to my channel members that make videos like this possible. If you would like to become a channel member, hit the join button below this video. As always, have an amazing day, and we'll catch you in the next one.